Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews out in Los Angeles. Leading off tonight, oil slicks. BP says Transocean and Halliburton did it. Transocean says BP and Halliburton did it. Halliburton says BP and Transocean did it. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So who did cause the Gulf oil spill? And who's going to hold them responsible? Are we talking poltergeist? Who is that enemy below that caused this spill? And what role did Dick Cheney play in all of this? Plus, we know that Supreme Court nominee Elena Kagan once banned military recruiters from the Harvard Law School. Is this the ammo that Republicans are going to use to block her confirmation? Plus, revenge of the nerds and other winners and losers in this year's political ad season. And out on a limb, we're issuing a challenge tonight and every night to elected Republicans. Come on, Hardball, please, sir and madam, and tell us you disagree with Rush on anything. Tell us you've had it with his distortions, his misrepresentations, his outright falsehoods. We invite you to tell us he's not the leader of the Republican Party. It's our standing offer. Come on, Hardball, and tell us Rush isn't telling the truth. And the right wing can't stop complaining about taxes always going up, except they're not. Let me finish tonight with some straight talk about who's paying and how much. Let's start with the politics of the oil spill. U.S. Congressman John Garamendi is a Democrat from California. And Michael Papantonio is a lawyer whose firm has filed a class action lawsuit in 3 states against the oil companies. I want to start with Mr. Papantonio. Sir, you brought a lawsuit. Is there a case to be made here against Dick Cheney as head of Halliburton?
I think it's a systemic problem. Look, influence pattern emerged after Dick Cheney's 100-day meeting that he had behind closed doors with the American Petroleum Institute, Exxon, Shell, Conoco. Look, Congress needs to be asking these questions right now, Chris. Right now, they're not asking the tough questions. What happened in that closed-door meeting? What was discussed? What promises were made? What quid pro quo took place? And why was there this sudden change that took place after that meeting? More importantly, Chris, why is it we can't even get the minutes from that meeting? Bobby Kennedy and I sued this department to try to get. We can't get them.
Well, let me help you with this, Mr. Papantoni, since it's your lawsuit. Consider this amicus information. The vice president got $34 million from Halliburton after he joined the ticket in 2000. He was leaving the company. This wasn't for services. This was what? Goodwill? $34 million. Then the 2 top regulators on MMS, who are supposed to be responsible for managing the oil industry and making sure there's safety in their operations, both Halliburton people. So isn't that interesting? What do you make of that before we move on? The Halliburton factor here, the Cheney factor. Please answer my question. What role did Dick Cheney play coming into the vice presidency and 2 top Halliburton people taking over responsibility for, get this, regulating Halliburton?
We know this, Chris. What did happen is the whole mineral management department changed. New people showed up, new regulations showed up. Halliburton, well, here it is. Here it is. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond. All you have to do is look at the fact that there wasn't just a meeting where nothing happened for Halliburton. After this meeting, a 300% increase took place in their business on things like offshore drilling. It's about access. It's about access. Clearly about access, Chris. Look, here's where this thing should go. There's a statute. It's clear. It's called the Honest Service Fraud Statute. It's called 18 U.S. Code 1346. Prosecutors all over America use this statute to put cronies, political cronies, in prison for the type of thing that they should be asking questions about right now. It's real simple to follow. When there's a government official and a third party that have an agreement and it doesn't look right, we need to investigate. Right now,
let me go to one office holder. Let's go to a lawmaker, a good government guy, John Garamendi. I've known you a long time. You're a good government guy. What is the role of Halliburton here? This amazing relationship where the vice president gets $34 million on his way into the vice presidency as these regulators are being named, and they're being named from the very company they're supposed to be regulating. I don't see how you can trust that kind of relationship.
You can't. We used to say fox guarding the hen house. Now we have the skunks guarding the hen house. No doubt about it. And it's not just the oil industry. We're talking about a war. We're talking about $1 trillion of American taxpayers' money for an unnecessary war in Iraq. Dick Cheney and the oil boys really screwed up this country to a fare thee well.
Well, they wanted the war, too. But let's go into this question of Halliburton. Let's watch now testimony from Halliburton with Pete Sessions, the Republican. Let's talk about how they're looking at their role in what went wrong, this horrible thing that went wrong in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's listen.
It is a procedure which has been used on multiple occasions in the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, would it be used less than 10% of the procedures?
I'm afraid I'm not in a position to comment.
Well, you do this business, do you not? You're under oath. I'm just asking you a simple question. What percentage, in your best judgment, is it that they remove the mud before the final plug is put in?
I do not know, Senator.
Is it less than 50%?
I do not know, Senator.
You don't know?
I do not know. The obligation for that decision lies between the leaseholder and MMS.
Well, let me go to Mike Papatonio on this question because it involves the litigation here. It seems to me that drill mud is used as a counterforce against the oil in the ground to keep it from coming up. Did they take a shortcut here? Is it your understanding that the company doing the drilling did a shortcut here that has caused this explosion and damage?
There's no other explanation. Look, they understand the physics of this just like you or I do. You put pressure on the well, it keeps the methane gas down in the well. If you take the pressure off, methane gas comes up the drill column and explodes. This isn't something new to them. They've had it happen 40 times on rigs just in the last few years. It's all about squeezing that extra dime out of this rig. And I'm telling you, that's where the money trail is going to lead on this one. That's why he couldn't answer the question. I can tell you this, you can put any roustabout on this camera and they're going to tell you this is the stupidest thing they've ever heard by removing that pressure gradient mud out early. Makes no sense.
I've talked to people in the oil industry, Congressman Garamendi, and they tell me that no mistake is ever new, no accident's ever new. Everything that ever goes wrong has happened before. And when it happened before, this is just a fact, they've established safety management procedures for making sure it doesn't happen again. They don't want this to happen. Why didn't they follow those procedures in this case so it wouldn't happen what happened before? Well, they're acting like this is an act of God. All the right wing is saying, act of God, oh, we can't believe it. It's poltergeist. Weird spirits did this. God did this. But at some point, we take responsibility for money-making when money-making goes bad. Your thoughts, Congressman? Can we have safe offshore drilling or not?
I don't think it'll ever be safe. There's always going to be an inherent danger, and when it occurs, it's going to be a real troublesome thing because you're in a marine ocean environment. I have a bill in to ban permanently new leases off the west coast of America. We just don't need to go there. We need to shift. We need to shift away from oil. We need to move to the renewable energy policies. As long as we continue to drill, we're going to find ourselves with these kinds of problems. Not every year, not every drill rig, but it's going to happen, and when it does. And keep this in mind, Chris. Last year, within the last 12 months, there have been 2 massive blowouts on offshore oil rigs, one off the west coast of Australia and another one in the Gulf of Mexico. This is not unheard of. In fact, it's all too common. So enough already. Move away from our dependence on oil, and let's get on with that renewable energy, which everybody says is our future and has to be our future.